Hey there, folks. Today is Tuesday, October the 3rd, National Unification Day in Germany. My name is Theodor Vodov, and this is the fifth already, of Keeping It Realistic. You know the drill by now. In this show, we're going through your works that have been posted in the Chaos Campus Facebook group within the last week, pointing out their strengths, but also talking about their weaknesses and how to improve them. We have 14 projects to discuss today, so it will be a long show, just so you know. Prepare some snacks and drinks. And before we jump right in, I just want to acknowledge, two topics. First of all, it's the group activity. Since my rant last week, I talked for 10 minutes about community, about being active and so on. And you actually were extremely active. There was a lot of interaction in the group. There have been people asking questions, providing feedback, or just generally discussing stuff in the comments, which I very much love. Thanks for that, really appreciate it. Also, on the last show, I introduced a new format called this quick review. We did 2 of those. And afterwards, I made a survey asking you if you prefer those quick reviews, which will obviously result in a shorter show duration, or if you prefer those long, in-depth reviews that we are currently doing. And I would say your answer was definitive. You wanted to have the long, in-depth reviews resulting in a long show. So today's show will be a long one because with 14 works, it is probably the ones with the most works to discuss. I see in the comments, Helen is there, Giorgi, Amit, Leslie, and Roy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Let's just jump in because, again, there is so much to talk about today. And let's continue with let's begin with Mario's project. I don't know if he is with us already. He usually never misses a show. But as far as I know, it's also like 4 or 5 in the morning where he is. So I think that, maybe he just slept over, or he can then just watch the recording. I see Ulfat also joined. Hello, Ulfat, and Jihan too. Amit says, I avoided last minute entry on my work. We'll post it for next week. With 14 projects to talk about, I consider mostly the works that have been posted until Monday evening, so that I can prepare myself for today and have enough time for that. So actually anything that is being posted today, I won't consider anymore. But generally, in the long run, I gotta admit that I didn't believe that it will happen so quickly. I thought that in the beginning I would just talk to myself more or less, and it will need a lot of time until people start appreciating the show, start joining and watching it. But in reality, it turns out that it is quite different. The show, this is just the 5th episode, so it happens for 5 weeks now, and it already has a very, very big impact on the group. We have more posts in the group in general. We have better descriptions, better text, better project presentation. We have more feedback and everything. So the result of this show is huge, and the interest to it is also huge. I really appreciate it, but at some point, obviously, I won't be able to talk about like 30, 40, 50 projects for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Nobody will listen to that, and I would probably die while doing so. So we will have to internally, me and Chaos, we'll have to discuss what to do in future so that the show isn't too long, but we still talk as much in depth as possible. But yeah, I appreciate that you didn't want to stress me out, dear Amit. So let's begin with Mario's work for today, first one for today. Yeah, here he is. I knew that if we give him a few minutes, he will join the chat, and here he is. So Mario, hi. We'll talk about your work. We'll start with it now. You say, hello, these are my latest renders. I made them for the same client from my previous post. The kitchen wasn't part of the deal at that time, but they loved my work and wanted me to make their kitchen visualization. In the girl render, which is this one, Just let's open it for a second. In the Guru render, I used stable diffusion to enhance the 3D model's face. The Archviz artist team covered the topic pretty well in this video. There is a link to it. The video will start at 11:37 because that's where they explain the image-to-image in-paint function, which is what we need to modify existing images using masks. But the whole video in general explains important stuff too. The tools used as 3ds Max, Corona, and Photoshop, and there is a link to his Behance. So I would say this is one very informative and detailed presentation. It's great that you included the link to the Archviz artist video and that you also mentioned that you use this technique, the stable diffusion. Gladly share with us how happy you are, not only with the results, but with the workflow in general. Also, the image presentation looks really nice image consistency, varied angles, everything is pretty dope. So I think we can just move on to the design. Let's just take a quick look to the images first though. So we have this very nice central perspective of the kitchen. For those of you who don't know which project Mario talks about, which project this kitchen is the continuation of, this is the project. So you see he uses mostly lots of the same materials and so on, just so it makes sense to you. So yeah, this is the first shot. Then we have a nice close-up on this coffee mug or whatever this is called, coffee maker. I don't drink coffee. I don't know the terms about it. Then we have the one side view with the girl, and as the last we have an angle where we're just situated in the kitchen looking towards, you know, the fridge and microwave and the stove or the oven. I would say design-wise everything seems fine to me. Personally, I am not a big fan of those floor tiles. Hello, Giorgi, nice to see you. Hey, mom. I'm not a big fan of these floor tiles, but this is more of a personal trait of mine, just because generally a place like a kitchen is a place, a clean, a sterile place where food is prepared. And if you have, you know, those grungy, dirty floor tiles, they kind of counter this, you know, this image of the kitchen being clean and sterile. But this is really a matter of taste, so this is more of my personal opinion rather than a real critique. When it comes to the modeling, I would say your modeling looks very nice. The assets that you have used also look very good. This kitchen island that you have, in my opinion, it is way too low. Somebody actually thematized this. Martin here, he says, I think the problem is bar high stools trying to fit under a standard height worktop. And I think this is the case. It is even lower than the actual work counter, which usually isn't the case. This one should be actually higher, especially if you want to use bar stools on it. The second thing is that I would say that, you know, this kitchen is a bit rudimentary in its design. It's like maybe cupboard fronts, but if we take a look at this image, for example, it just looks like one continuous wooden surface. So maybe add some partitioning to it, door handles and so on, so that it looks more authentic. And one more thing, because I know you strive for excellence, is this thing here. You see the microwave and the oven, it looks like they're placed in front of the cupboards. But in a situation like this, they actually should be justified within this wooden frame. So here and here, they should be just pushed in so that their surface is actually at the same height as the surface of the wood here. It would just look better. This is how built-in appliances like this just look like in real life. Material-wise, I would say good work on the materials. They fit the other part of the project, but also go together well within each other. I like the noise on the fronts. Maybe it could be even more subtle. Don't forget, it is a very new kitchen, and new stuff has new materials, and new materials usually are very plain and very even boring. I know we as 3D artists try to make them more realistic by adding such noise in the, let's say, glossiness or reflection node. But in this case, I mean, it's okay, but don't overdo it. It could be even more subtle because this is, again, a very new modern kitchen. We also have a bit of repetition here on these wooden slats, but I mean, this is so secondary, it's not really visible. And as for the lighting and framing, I would go through it shot by shot. On the first one, I love the framing on this shot. I also like the lighting, it works, it comes from the side, it works really nicely. I also love the contrast that you have here with these white orbs on the lamp, that the contrast between them and the dark cupboards in the background, it works really well. This is a really, really beautiful shot. Then we have this one. I also like it. It works even though the light is coming from behind, but it doesn't look flat in this case. What I don't like as much here is that we have the faucet in the background. Now you have depth of field, and through this depth of field, the clear focus is here. This is true. But because of the light coming from behind and the faucet being very reflective, it kind of in a moment looks like it belongs to this whole composition, as it is a part of this coffee maker here, which isn't very great. So maybe shift the camera a bit up so that it's a bit more of an isometric view, or maybe rotate it a bit until you have a more laid back and monotonous background, so that these two objects can stick out more. On this one, I like it. Again, we have the light coming from behind, which always makes for a flatter image if compared, let's say, to the first one where it's coming from the side. But I would say it works. It nicely presents the kitchen as a whole. What I don't like as much here is this empty space to the left, because it kind of looks like nothing will happen here. Like it is a vast, huge space, and you only have something in this one area, which is the kitchen, and the space to the left just continues into nothingness. So if I were you, I would cut it somewhere here, like this. And if you have to keep the aspect ratio, then shift the whole camera to the right so that you show more out of those doors rather than the empty wall here. And as for the last one, this last one is a bit difficult, because this time you have the light really coming from behind, which makes for a bit of an underexposed image. It makes for strong contrasts. If you take a look at this, the backside of this kitchen island is just pitch black. You don't see anything there, which isn't great, to be honest. Also, framing wise or cropping wise, I think that in these areas down here and up there, it doesn't happen a lot. So I will probably suggest going for a landscape ratio, something like this. So that you concentrate on the more important areas, in the areas where actually something happens, and cut out those where we have just repetitive floor texture, repetitive wooden texture, and just blackness, right? And as for the scaling, let's go one back. Somebody pointed out, Flatson, it was that this woman looks quite big for this scene, and I agree with it. It's not only this island being too low, but the woman looks pretty large. If she stands up, she'll be larger than the refrigerator, which would be a bit strange, to be honest. So maybe check up your scaling on the woman. But other than that, I would say this is one really good quality continuation of the original project, and it is awesome to hear that actually your client was so happy with you that they immediately gave you another task. I think this is just awesome, and I'm really happy for you because of that. And to you folks in the comments, you see Mario used stable diffusion to enhance the quality of his work in this case. Have you also tried enhancing your work with AI? And if so, did it work out, and which tools did you use? Mario says, thank you, Theo, for the tips. We will manage them for sure. My pleasure, Mario. Then this is the survey I talked about. Quick reviews which for a shorter show, or in-depth reviews but a longer show. It used to be 100%, but somebody thought they will destroy this nice number. Let's take a look at who is this. Oh, it's Alan. What the heck, Alan? What does this have to be? Obviously, this is a joke, folks. You can have every opinion you want to have, and it's very legit. Stay with it, no matter even if you're the only one like Alan here. Just stay true to your opinion and be honest. This is a community in which this honesty and being true to yourself, keeping it realistic, is actually very, very appreciated. So I actually very much like it how Alan decided not to go with the peer pressure of everybody going for the in-depth reviews, but he decided just to choose the option that he likes. This is how it should be in a healthy community. But yeah, despite that, even if it were more people, you would see that the majority really wants the in-depth reviews. So this is what we continue doing, at least for now. And in the meantime, Giorgi says, I mostly avoid placing humans in interior renders as some clients prefer not to see strangers in their private areas. And this makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. Maybe your client should give you photos of themselves so that you can put them inside. But yeah, I also try to avoid using people in my interiors. I think most people can actually imagine, especially a standard interior, we can imagine the proportions, the volumes and everything, because we know how big a fridge is or an oven or something. So I don't need the people, honestly. I think people are more important for especially large public areas, so that we can see how big the areas are, or for buildings that are not immediately recognizable in their size or something. Giorgi continues, yes, sometimes we find out which car and plate client has and we place their cars near their houses. It makes them super happy. This sounds like a good idea. Very, very personalized visualizations this way. Folks, this is a good hint. Let's continue with Yunut's work. First of all, I love the interactivity in the comments again. So second post where people would actually ask questions like Mariam here, or Flatson was giving feedback somewhere, I know, yeah, you see here. So this is really awesome to see. This is how I dream it to be. And I'm really happy when I see it. So Yunut says, here is a high resolution preview of an ongoing 3D project in the UK. Check our latest design. So it is a minimalist UK reception room designed by Yunut. As far as I know, he told me in the comments that he had to actually use this furniture. It was given to him, or he was asked to use this furniture by his client. So yeah, Yunut, I would say nice presentation. Maybe add the software combination that you use so that we know what tools you have at your disposal, or what you usually use. As for the images themselves, I would say presentation wise they look nicely varied, because every time it's a different angle, but the image consistency still stays. So let's take a closer look at them. We have the main shot, or the first shot, which shows the sitting area. Then we have one which shows the visual relation between the sitting area and the TV, the multimedia area, and then we have what actually people sitting on the sofa will be looking at. So let's get back to the first image. I would say that the design is generally appealing, looks comfortable to me. I had to also admit that I was a bit confused, because in your description you talk about a reception, and I think that the general meaning of reception is this waiting room in the doctor's office or at the lawyer's or whatever, where people who don't know each other sit on separate seats and just wait for their turn to come. So it was a bit strange to see something that looks like a living room at first glance to be a reception. Later in the comments you explained that, let me quote, the reception is a small room located near the entrance of a house, which serves as a necessary buffer zone of the house for guests invited to it for a relatively short period of time, a short conversation or a quick tea. This sounds really very English, and it also seems to be a local term, because again the general term of reception is something else. Still, even with your new explanation, I gotta say that I find it to be that I find that it looks kind of too private, because of this very comfortable couch, and there's these personal belongings that we see there, the glasses, the laptop, the book. There are some bracelets visible here. So to me this is still a bit strange, to be honest. Also, the way you describe it, it's about a room about communication, right? So people will come together to drink tea, or talk with each other for a short conversation, as you put it. But if we take a look at this layout, I would say it looks more like Netflix and chill rather than tea and biscuits, to be honest, because you see it is like the couch just facing this TV, and there is nothing on the other side of it, like chairs or something where other people could sit and actually, interact with the one sitting on the couch. But again, maybe it is something specific for England that I just am not aware of. So I think we can just let it be. Other than that, I think that it is a pleasant room. To me, it looks like a very pleasant living room. Modeling seems solid to me. I like the solution with the corner sofa. You explain to somebody that it is actually a 3-seater and you use the symmetry modifier in order to make it into a corner sofa, and I think it's a great result and also a very smart workflow. Other than that, what should I say? Yeah, some details. It seems like your curtains are just hanging into nowhere, so they're not attached to anything. Also, this small coffee table here seems to be hovering above the floor. It's not a big deal. Something like this happens. Just be a bit more careful with that. Material-wise, I find the materials good. I wouldn't say that the color scheme is really overwhelming or really, really exciting. It's very laid back, maybe a bit too subtle in this case, but it's not bad or something. Maybe it would be good if we had the same wood as we have on the floor, also on those wooden slats here, so that it looks a bit more harmonious. But again, this is not so important. The lighting, I think, is good on all the shots. I like it. And if we go to the shots one by one, I kind of have a bit of an issue with the framing, or let's say with the cropping of the first two. So this one I would actually extend to the right and to the bottom. So let's take a look at it together. So I would make it something like this, so that it's not cut, and this way it actually looks more spacious in general. And if we go to the second one, it's the same. I would extend the cropping downwards here again. So something like this. Again, it becomes more spacious. It shows how that there is enough room to move around in this space, which I think is a good thing. On the last one, the framing I actually like. You can gladly still shift the camera a bit downwards because there is a lot of empty ceiling, which we see here, which doesn't really add a lot to this scene. If you shift the camera downwards until we see the backrests of the couch, you can use a bit of depth of field on it, and it will represent more what the people sitting there will actually see. So it will be at their eye level or something. Flatson says that your background is a bit too saturated. I agree on this one. It's not really that bad, to be honest, but here it takes too much attention, so gladly they're saturated. But all in all, I would say this is one really good commercial project, and I am looking to your next works in this group. And to you folks in the comments, I want to know something. So how do you deal with situations when you don't agree with the client on something? Let's say a case like this, where, or not like this, something else. The client wants you to do something that you know will either look bad or it doesn't make much sense or something like this. How do you deal with this? Do you put a smile and just do it regardless, or do you try to talk the client out of it or convince them otherwise or something? I personally do both. I first try to convince them otherwise. I try to point out why. I use some references for that, or I actually put something inside to show them how bad it actually is. But at some point, if they are stubborn, if they don't want to listen to me, I'm like, just, okay, screw it. I'll just do it the way you want it. In the end, it's your image. While you're answering, we can continue with the first project from Christos today. He has uploaded 3 projects. I asked him which one he wants me to talk about, and it's not this one, it's the second project he uploaded, so we will skip this one. It's an interesting one though, very, very intriguing space here, maybe a bit underwhelming when it comes to the lighting, but still very, very interesting. I would gladly see more shots out of this once it's finished. Also, it again received feedback from Alessio, for example. So yeah, take a look at it, and we can continue with Mohanad, who says, "Hello everyone, this is my first project ever using 3ds Max and V-Ray. Hope you like the renders." Again, another project where people are asking questions or providing feedback. Felipe, in this case, this is just awesome, and I will never fail to mention it because I love it. As for you, Mohanad, I like this short, straight to the point description. There is this crucial information that this is your first ever project using a new software combination, in this case 3ds Max and V-Ray. And it is crucial because it is then so that mistakes or this work not being perfect is very much expected in a situation like this. Because when an artist, I read in the comments that you were a Blender user, and if an artist changes the software, it's always a difficult time. I have been through it. It was the end of 2019 where I switched from Rhino with V-Ray to Max and Corona, and it was a really, really tough time. So yeah, I know it's not easy to you, but I actually think that you did a good job. As for the images themselves, you didn't say if it is a commercial or a personal project. Gladly add this info to the information, also to your future projects. As for the images, they look nicely varied, so no repetitions. It's always a different angle, something new to see, which is awesome. They look a bit, when it comes to the lighting, they look a bit underwhelming, underexposed maybe. But yeah, something that can be easily fixed. So let's take a look at them one by one. So we have this courtyard scene showing the pool, the courtyard area, and I would guess the main house. Then we have the terrace and a part of this courtyard again. Then we have the main entrance to the house, and then we have an interior shot, which I must admit I really liked. It kind of reminded me a bit at first glance of this one because of all the arches and this layered lighting and composition. I really like this one. Design-wise, I would say, after we went through all these images, I would say everything works. Maybe this climbing plant here is a bit over the top because it doesn't even seem to climb the facade, but it's more like a tree and then it gets continued onto the railing. Maybe this is a bit too much, to be honest. Also, it is very dense. But other than that, design-wise, I think that the whole thing works. When it comes to the modeling, I would say the modeling is serviceable. So it does the job. On the interior side, it is actually quite decent, to be honest. The artists look really good. The assets that you have used are also mostly fine, but the whole thing, especially the exterior area, needs more detailing. Let's take a look at the pool, for example. So there is absolutely no detail or no real transition between the terrace floor and the pool. It's just like you had a poly object with one material ID here and a second one here inside. So this obviously doesn't look like this in real life. There is some kind of an edge or some drain grades or something, but it doesn't look like this. You know, the window frames, if we take a closer look at them, they look very two-dimensional, too simplistic. And this goes for a lot of the parts of this image. Also, you need to chamfer your edges and so on. Nothing of this is typical for somebody who just starts with a new software, but just keep in mind that the more detail, the more realistic this is, the more authentic your final result will be. Material-wise, with a few exceptions, I would say that the materials are mostly fine, or mostly okay. Some need improvement. Let's take again another look at the pool. So first thing that I see here is that these pool tiles seem to be overscaled. Usually they're very, very small tiles with a very small grout between them because, you know, large grouts aren't that great for an area which is filled with water. So I would say make them smaller, also make them a bit more three-dimensional. They look very flat in the moment, so give them more bump, more displacement too. Then we have the window material up here. It looks like you used some wooden plank material on it, which obviously doesn't fit it. Then we have the shutter materials. First of all, it's repetitive, and second, with this color, it looks quite moldy, to be honest, which is not a good look. Also, there is no clear color concept. Now, I see the effort that you try to match the colors here. So you have, let's say, this pinkish reddish plant here, and you have it again here and in the front, and you know, on this flamingo here, and then you have the whites and the beiges, and then you have like 5 different greens, you know, the one on the shutters, on the palm tree, on these trees, on this one, on the grass. It's just too much. So in this case, I will gladly show you a project which is kind of similar to yours. It's done by a great artist called Evelina Lecker. It is named, let it just load for a second, it is named Sundown. So you see, it's not the same situation, obviously, but kind of similar. So we have this courtyard with the, you know, traditional Mediterranean house and the pool. And if we you know, analyze the color scheme in this image, you will see that we have the warms on the one side, so it's like the yellows, oranges, beige, browns. We have them on the inside, we have them on these pots here, we have them on the roof here or here. So we have the warms, let's go, the orange yellowish warms. On the other side we have the coats, which is obviously the sky and the pool water. And what we have as a highlight color are the greens. And how does green come to be? It's when you mix yellow and blue, right? So you have the yellows here and you have the blues, and this is how you come to this new highlight green color, which is very saturated. But if you have to, you know, reduce it down to 3 colors, you would say it's the green, it's the blue, and it's the warms, right? And this is it. So you can gladly let yourself get inspired by an awesome artist like Evelina and her works. There is also more shots to this project. All of them are pretty awesome. I really love this one. You also see another topic that we just talked about, let's say the edge of the pool. You see how defined it is here in contrast to the gravel area around. So yeah, let yourself get inspired by artists like this or works like this, but for your works, use a real life photography reference. Why? Because Evelina here, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but I pretty much bet that she also used references in order to make all of this. So if you use her work as a reference, you'll be referencing somebody who interpreted a reference, which are too much interpretations and too much referencing. So if you do your work, go for a direct referencing and look for photography and not for other renders. So let's get back to your work and yeah, try to have a bit more clear color scheme in general. The lighting is a bit of a mixed bag. On the inside, it works, but let's start on the outside. So the first 2 shots, so the courtyard shots, I don't think are very balanced, and the lighting isn't optimally used. So it's on the one hand, it's moody and nice, this sunset mood, it's good, but on the other hand, it leads to heavy overexposure. It's especially visible in the second shot. So take a look at this area, it's obviously overburned. Take a look at this one. So this is something like a sandstone block wall, and on this side, in the shadowy side, it looks like sandstone, and on this side it looks more like gold bars or something. So this is not okay. Also, the light isn't really utilized. Try to imagine it like this, like you have a stage in a theater and you have the actors doing their roles on that stage. Where do the spotlights go? Do they go to the audience or to the curtains? No, they go onto the actors. So in the same thing like this, when you do the lighting in your scene, which is your actor? Which is the thing that you want to show us? Is it this corner? Is it this really? I don't think. So I think that in this case, it could be the building. So maybe put some light onto the building, or let's say in a shot like this, because we see more of the courtyard rather than the building, maybe put the light here, somewhere in this area, okay? Let's continue. And as for the overexposure, just use highlight compression in your video frame buffer and it should actually do the job. As for the third shot, I think it is actually way better lit. It works. I also like this light which is coming into the inside of the house, because it actually visually leads the viewer into the house, which I think is a great way of storytelling, to be honest. And on the last one, we have this layered lighting. So we are standing in this dark zone, which is very much okay. Then we have this mid-ground, which is, or mid-distance, so to speak, which is sufficiently exposed but not overexposed. And then we have the outdoor area, which is, yeah, again, a bit overexposed, but it makes contrast to the interior rooms, and I think it works actually pretty nice. It adds a bit of nice mood to it. And when it comes to the shots themselves, I think that to the framing of them, I would say this one works. You can shift the camera a bit upwards here, just so you don't show so much empty floor, and a bit more of the facade and this awesome plant. On this one, I think the framing is great because this arch here is actually in the middle of the image, but the other arch that we are standing behind is actually asymmetrical to it, which adds a bit of layer of dynamic to your shot and makes it pretty nice. The first one is very informative, I would say, and with the right lighting it could also be very pleasant and moody to look at. So this is also good in terms of framing. And then there is this one which really sucks. Sorry to put it this directly, but this one just makes no sense the way it is, because what you're showing here is just this corner, and nobody is interested in a corner, you know. If you want to show the terrace, then you should put the camera higher up, or maybe place the camera on the terrace, and if not, then maybe shift the whole camera to the left so that it concentrates more onto this outdoor dining situation. And when it comes to maybe the last point, which is the scattering, I would say the scattering, let's start with the grass. It looks okayish, but it is way too dense. Also, if you take a closer look, we will see that there are different density areas. So the areas around these stepstones here is denser than the area around. And this obviously is not a good look. So try to have one continuous scatter surface and then lower the density of this grass for it to look more realistic. Then we have the pampas here. They don't seem to have been scattered using a scatter solution, something like chaos scatter, but it looks more like copy-pasted instances of this plant, which leads to a visual repetition. So maybe try really using a scattering solution and giving those pampas different sizes, different rotation and scaling. And then it will look way more natural. And is there something else? Oh yeah, the roof tiles. On the roof tiles, the clipping area doesn't seem to work because your outer every second roof tile isn't properly cut as it is visible here. So you gotta check that if you do it in Real Clone, make sure that your object can actually be cut. And with this being said, I would say it was a lot of criticism, but despite all of it, I think this is a very solid first project for a new software combination. I think you can be really proud of yourself, and if you really want to step it up, work with references, try to detail your geometry, work more on your materials until they look exactly as they would look in real life. And try to establish a really clear color scheme. This always helps. And I think that the improvement will soon follow. And as for the rest, there is this certain buffering time when you will have to adapt to the new software. It will be an unpleasant one, but you'll get used to it. After 4 years, I'm almost done with it. So, yeah. And folks, to you in the comments, so that you don't fall to sleep, I wanted to ask you something. In the first show, I said that I will be providing my honest and well-meant feedback, opinion, and that you don't have to actually agree with it. So now, after 5 shows, how does it look like? Do you actually agree with me? What's the tendency most of the time? Or do you think, wait, what is this dude talking about? Or is there stuff that I'm missing that you think I should have said or something? Gladly fill me up on that. And while I continue here to say thanks to my friend Amit and to all of you who commented under his post congratulating me on my 19th birthday last week. Very nice of you. Thank you very much. And let's move on to Juan. I'll just check the comments for a second. Mario says, Theo, you use the Archviz 2 scripts for Windows? No, I don't. Which tools do you mean? I don't even know what you're talking about. Gladly share a link or something. I'll gladly take a look at them, but I don't know. And let's continue with Juan's work. Juan says, hello friends, I am publishing these images of a practice project. The idea was to represent a comfortable room as realistic as possible, having a more intimate, slightly messy approach. I would like to receive feedback on things to improve. I did it with 3ds Max, Corona Renderer and Photoshop. Greetings and thanks. Well, Juan, great presentation. We have all the essential info about the project, plus your goals about wanting to create a more realistic, more intimate and slightly messy room. I think it worked out for you, but let's take a look. As for the images, I think they look really nice. Very consistent, even though you actually had different lightings on each of the 3 images, they still look like they very much belong together. Some of them, however, like the last one, appear a bit underexposed, to be honest. But let's take a closer look. So we have this very IKEA-like room at the first shot. Looks awesome to me and absolutely fulfills the need for some intimate, slightly messy room. Without it being too messy or something, it looks really nice. Then we have this really atmospheric, really strong close-up, let's call it, and then we have an evening mood in this room. So design-wise, I think it's a really nice, really cozy design. Again, IKEA will love it. It has a really lived-in feel to it, like somebody actually lives there and uses this room, which I think is awesome. It doesn't look just like a catalog. Just look at this bed or something. This is the difference, which I think IKEA catalogs made contrary to the other ones, because most of the other ones just had this, let's say, room, and then there is this couch, and everything was so perfect. And IKEA started making those images that look really lived in, and yours is one of those images, which I think is awesome. Still, some elements of this scene, I think, need rethinking. First and foremost, it's the radiators. So we have 5 radiators in this small room, which doesn't make much sense for 2 reasons, if you ask me. First of all, nobody puts 3 radiators next to each other and then again 2 on the side. It would be 1 long radiator here and 1 long radiator with more ribs there. So this isn't the way it is meant. And also, we have a small room and then you have 5 radiators in it, which obviously is an overkill. This is just too much. Then they look good though. They look good. They're just too many. Then it's the frames of this space. The frames look very, very thin, if you ask me. So it's like a single pane glazing, which in an area where you need 5 radiators to keep warm, obviously isn't enough. Then you need thicker frames with 3 pane glazing. I'm also not sure about the window handles. They seem, if they have to be dark or not. I personally think they could have been white and fit the frames more, but this is a matter of personal taste. As for the functionality, I think that this area here is maybe a bit too cramped. So there is a lot of stuff which stands in the way, like these plants on the stools, or you have a lot of plants that are in front of windows. So you have to, move them to the side in order to open a window, which is kind of inconvenient. But for the general look, it's nice because you have this random stuff lying around. When it comes to the modeling, I have nothing to say. The modeling looks good to me. The assets that you have chosen to use also look amazing. It's only the background. I don't know if it is modeled or not, but the background looks kind of strange, I gotta admit. At first glance, it's kind of okayish, but once you zoom in, I cannot even put my finger on it if it is a 3D image or if it is something like a 2D image and a combination of some 3D elements added to it. Something like this tree looks like you placed it in Photoshop or something. It's not really that great. So, it takes away from the realism of the whole scene. So my suggestion here is to maybe swap it for a real background image or redo the modeling on the outside areas. As for the materials, I would say very high quality job. I love how distinct the look is on each and every material. How, you see this is fabric at first glance, these are painted bricks, this is the floor material. It's really, really distinct. I love this. Also the color scheme is beautiful, the materials go together well, really like this. As for the lighting and framing, the first one is, I think, great overcast lighting, great framing, nothing to say here. The second one is also pretty nice. I personally was, also playing around with the idea of actually making something like this, which is, a smaller outtake of this scene, something like this. I think it would be an even stronger image this way if we just concentrated on this area and we didn't have the stuff on the side, especially this Monet lily painting, because it kind of distracts from the strongness of this scene here. And as for the last one, I'm not sure. I mean, it is authentic in terms of everyday life. It is. But at the same time, we try to make images that also appeal to the viewers that view them. And for this, it is maybe a bit underexposed. You see almost nothing in this right area here. So I don't know. If this is the original image, I can imagine it could be a bit brighter somewhere. Maybe not in this area that I made it here. Maybe only in this part, but that it is a bit more visible to the viewer. And with this being said, this is everything I have to say about this project. I would say this is definitely one great exercise of yours. You reached your goals absolutely, and I think when you fix the background and the radiators, you will have an awesome project for your portfolio. Just maybe try to extract some close-ups out of it, because you have used really high quality assets, you have nice materials, and it would be a pity if you don't make a few close-ups out of this. And with this being said, we can actually move on to the next project, which is the project I told you about, which Christos uploaded and is done by Abderrahman. We know Abderrahman quite well in this show. This is, I think, in every show so far we had a project done by him. So Christos says, sharing with you a preview for an ongoing 3D housing project in Greece. Credits to my teammate Abderrahman for the excellent work. I think this is great that you not only credited him, but you also showed your appreciation for his great work. I think this surely, motivates the people who work for or with you. I miss a bit technical info here, or some background info maybe, the technical info, which software has been used. As far as I remember, Abderrahman uses 3ds Max with Corona. And maybe some background info to what kind of project this is would be interesting too. As for the image, even as a small preview, it looks really nice. And once enlarged, it gets even nicer because the detail becomes visible. It's a really nice, like a tourist catalog scene, coherent, inviting atmosphere. I think it maybe misses some sunshades here and there because it's Greece. It's an area where it gets really sunny and really hot in the sun. So maybe adding a few sunshades, not only this one, and it's also closed, would be a good idea. Also, here we have this nice small table, and I think it would be cool if we had some cocktails or some, vacation stuff on it to enhance this free time vacational mood. Modeling, to me, everything looks good. I love the open shutters. I love how there is some stuff on the inside of the house. It makes it look lived in and actually used. There is some small stuff here and there. I would say, first of all, this step here. It looks like in order to leave this deck, you have to go up this step and then get down a few steps again to reach the other level, which I think is a bit strange and not really convenient. Also, the scattering on the roof looks kind of strange. There are these vertical lines, and also there is this horizontal line. I don't think it should be there, and I don't think it looks good as well. And the gaps in this deck look rather large. So if you were to drop your phone here, it will be gone forever, I would say. So, but again, I don't know, maybe all of this is not your decision. Maybe it was just given to you like that from the client, and you cannot do anything about it. The materials actually look fine to me. They're totally pleasant. They very nicely fit the location of this project. I think that this concrete floor that you have here, you have the same material also on the walls, and in combination with the strong sun, you actually, it's difficult to distinguish where the floor ends and where the wall begins, right? So in order to counter that, maybe you can have some ambient occlusion or some curvature, some dirt, so that the edges become more prominent and more visible. Lighting wise, I think it's totally pleasant. I love what you did with the foreground, having these shadows here, making the brightest, mostly lit area somewhere here. I think this looks amazing, and it helps us focus on the most important things. And maybe just add some caustics to the pool water that also reflects on the facades. I think it will look amazing. Framing is sweet, works obviously. So in conclusion, I would say this is one great project, and Christos and the final client can really be happy with it. Folks, I see no comments of you. Are you still there? Do you still see me? Do you still hear me? Are you awake? How are you doing? Have you been on a vacation recently? We just had a project which is very vacation oriented. Gladly let me know in the comments so that I know that you're there, and then we can actually continue to our next project. This is 6th one for today, 6 out of 14, which is Flatsun's project. So yeah, I see that I have active viewers, I have people reacting, but somehow I don't see any new comments, which is a bit strange, because in the show so far I was always able to see new stuff. So let me write something. And see how things are. I hope you still hear me. Yeah. Helen is still there. She says test, and she's there. So everything obviously works. Okay, then we will just continue. Again, as I said before, okay, this is good. As long as you hear me and the stream is running, I'm very happy. This is awesome. Okay, let's continue with Flatsun's Project Kitchen. It's visualized by him, but the design comes from an interior designer as far as I got it. It's done in SketchUp and V-Ray for SketchUp. He says, this is a visualization I created for an interior architect. It's a very interesting project for me, and I absolutely loved the bold colors and classic architectural style. It took me 2 days to complete the entire project, and an additional 2 days for the renders to be fully rendered. He was very happy with the results. Hope you like it. We do. I do, at least. Also, this is a great presentation, Flatsun. You described everything, the background of the project, the software that you have used. Also, the images themselves have they're nicely varied, but have a very consistent and nice look to them. So let's dive in and take a closer look at them. We have this kitchen in an angled view. This is a really, really big kitchen. Then a central perspective of it, the side view, then one sweet close-up with focus on the kitchen. Then again, this side view, it doesn't really differentiate much from the initial one. And then this really, really awesome and also very fitting to the whole style of the work, close-up on these apples. So let's get back to the first shot and talk a bit about the design. I think the design works. I would call it something like a modern take on a country house kitchen. It's a very eclectic design, I would say, because, we have these modern metal bar stools, and then we have, the classic moldings up here, and then this very retro infused table. So obviously, being such an eclectic design, I think it's safe to say that it is a matter of taste, if people like it or not. Some will love it, others won't like it at all. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't really love it, but I enjoy that it has some personality, but it's really not my style, to be honest. Regarding the modeling, it really looks decent. It's a lot of work to do, and it's fascinating that you actually managed to do it in 2 days only. Also, you didn't only build the kitchen, but you actually managed to fill it with nice fitting cassettes within those 2 days, which is impressive in my opinion. There are small mistakes here and there. You see, you have forgotten to put the gap between this high drawer and the ones next to it, but this is no big deal, especially on a quick project like that. Just be a bit more careful. When it comes to the modeling, I think we should first analyze the color scheme of this project, because it is heavy and something special in this case. Because let's say we have the turquoise as a primary color on the kitchen front, and as an opposite color, a complementary color, we have this Bordeaux red on the chairs and the oven here, which works. Again, these are complementary colors. They work together well. Then you have the terrazzo here, which I think is there to make the transition or to fuse both main highlight colors together, because it actually has some spots which are like more warmish, like orange, to represent the reds, and then the green spots to represent the turquoise. So far so good, it works. And then there are the whitish and gray tones that are just more backgroundy, more secondary. And again, until this point, I would say it is a coherent color scheme. But then it gets a bit wild, because then comes this brown, very saturated floor. Then we have this something like this cushion, which is beige, and then a different green on the seating area here, and then there is the gold on these lamps. Now the gold nicely fits the turquoise, it does, but in combination with all the other colors, there are then too many highlights and it becomes messy, if you ask me. So if I were you, I would try to reduce the color scheme just to, let's say, these two main colors, and see how far I can get with this without mixing it with other new highlights. Other than that, the materials look good to me. Maybe the floor is too glossy in this case, almost unrealistically so. And then there is this patina on the kitchen fronts, which is over the top in this case. So we had this topic with Mario in the beginning, so I'll show you a few examples of a new kitchen, even in a style similar to yours. You see, there is some patina, there is some game in this structure, but it is very, very, very subtle, right? So this is one angle, this is an angled view of the same kitchen, and you see it still looks like a solid, even surface, and not something which is really if we compare here, which is at some point it is very glossy, and then the point next to it, it is matte. So here we have an example with a really dark kitchen. It's especially visible on kitchens like this, and you see there is some of this effect, but it is really, really, really subtle. So try to keep it subtle as well. Regarding the lighting and framing, I have nothing to add. I actually like it a lot. I think it does a good job, the lighting, to represent this kitchen, and the angles are nicely varied. Every angle shows something different, a different aspect of the kitchen or a different view. And my favorite one is this one, but I'm a sucker for good close-ups, so yeah, this is more a bit of a personal taste. And in conclusion, I would say this is one really great commercial project, and the most important thing about it, you already mentioned, is that the client was very happy with the final results, because this is what we do this job for, right? And to you folks in the comments, how do you like this style? Do you enjoy it, or is it according to your taste, or do you not like it, or are not a big fan of it, like I am not? But again, this has nothing to do with Flatson. This is just the interior design to this kitchen, and Flatson can do nothing about it, right? So let's move on to something really special. And it is Giorgi's project. So the ones who follow the show will, especially the ones of you who have seen the last show, will know this project for sure. Giorgi says, you like it, Roy? You like the kitchen? Well, again, it is a matter of taste. I told you, it's just eclectic. Some will love it, some will hate it. But yeah, I wouldn't say this is one of those kitchens or one of those designs that left people indifferent. That leave people indifferent. It's not the case. I think it's you either dig it or you don't. But you cannot just be like, I don't know. So yeah, nice to know that you like it. And let's continue with Giorgi, because again, you should know this project from last time. And in this case, I won't start talking about design, materials, presentation, and so on. What Giorgi says is just, hello, I present my project after the corrections. So in this case, I will go through the comment section actually and just read what the group members have written there. So first we have Danushka, who says, wow, this is a fantastic improvement. I saw this set on VW Art Club at first, and from the first glance it looks superb, but when I looked for more details, there were some issues. But this set, it is awesome through and through. Super work, congratulations, man. Then we have Mario, who actually tagged me and says, wow, man, you should be really proud of this. I really am, Mario, and I'll come back to this later. And then we have Sebastian, who says that this is really an improvement. Wow, everything looks so much better. And then he continues with actually some further constructive feedback. He says, I just don't like the night shot because the lights are cold. Did you try to make them warm? And I think a couple of lights inside the building would add a bit of atmosphere, which Giorgi again listened to, and he actually reworked this, and the two images that he made, he then uploaded up to the main shot of his project so that we can view them together today. So first of all, there is so much interaction in these comments. So these are the fellow artists just sharing their feelings and opinions and showing their appreciation for Giorgi's hard work and encouraging him to keep it up. And again, despite the obvious improvement, Sebastian was still there to give him some further feedback, because he saw that Giorgi is actually listening to this feedback and actually improving out of it. So to me, this is absolutely perfect. This is what this group is about, and this is a perfect example of how a healthy community looks like. So I love this. And back to Mario's statement, who said that I should be proud of this. Yes, I am very proud of this, Mario, and this is for multiple reasons. First of all, I would say I'm very proud of Giorgi for his dedication and his hard work and his will to improve and become a better artist. I'm also very proud of the community for being so active and showing this appreciation to Giorgi and supporting him in his growth through further constructive feedback. I'm of course very proud of this show that we currently have, because this is where Giorgi got his feedback from. And just so obviously this show serves the purpose it is there for. So I'll just lead you through the steps of development of this project by Giorgi. So this was his initial work, which is already pretty nice, to be honest, as Danushka says, but it is overexposed, it lacks a clear focus, and I think Giorgi figured this out and tried to go back. I know he also follows the Common Point course. I don't know if he subscribed to it or if he just follows the free lessons, but I know he tries to learn from the good folks, and rightfully so. So he went back with his new set of skills, with the new stuff that he has learned, and turned the image into this, which is an image which obviously has a very, very way better framing, because we can this time concentrate on the building immediately. And I think that this is an awesome thing to do on his side. But if it wasn't for the show from last time, if this group wasn't a community, the community that we wanted to be, he would just post it, he will get a few thumbs up and maybe a few hearts, and then this would be the last stage of this work. Instead, with the show and of course with his own enthusiasm and hard work, this thing here that you see turned into this. And I don't think that I need to say more about it, because if this doesn't prove how important this constructive feedback is to an artist, nothing will prove it, right? So this is just awesome to look at. I also urge him to try an experiment with different lighting moods in a personal comment, which he also did. And then we have another two really, really nice images of his. So I think there are many reasons for me to be actually proud and happy about. We can go to the images one by one. The first one, I would say this is just really good. The materials are now very harmonious. Last time the pavilions, the fountains were a bit yellowish and as if they were done in different materials. Now everything seems to have like more or less the same material, which makes more sense architecturally. Also, the lighting is great, the framing is great, and it really makes me want to take a stroll there and just visit this place. And then we have the evening mood, again with some feedback from Sebastian. Giorgi actually exchanged the initial lighting that he had, which was cold, to a warm one. This is obviously a good idea because we have this blue hour, so we have global illumination, which is bluish or coldish, and then there come the warm lights, which make for a wonderful contrast. And then he also very skillfully illuminated the pavilions, for example, or this fountain. It is really great. Something happened on the inside of your lanterns. It doesn't look good. It's kind of weird. On the second version of it, it's how it should be, so fix it please. And when it comes to the interior, I think it's a bit underexposed at the moment, so you can pump up the multiplier of the lights in there. And also, try to think about it that if you have, let's say, this cluster of 3 windows here, and then you light up only the middle one, it looks as if this room behind it is only as big, right? Which often doesn't make sense. Buildings like these usually have large rooms, so maybe try to at least group 2 windows together so that you at least have a bit of a larger room like this when you light them up. And you can gladly also light up more windows than you currently have. And if we move on to the next shot, I would say this looks again very, very nice. It has a lovely warm mood to it. This time the lanterns look as they should. The only issue I see here is the overexposure of some of the elements, which the roof and those benches, so reduce the over saturation. I'm sorry. So reduce the saturation on these. You can do this also in the post-production, and this is again another great work. I would say it is a wonderful improvement on your side, Giorgi. Really awesome to see it and really awesome to be a part of it. Congrats on your hard work. Before you move on, maybe don't scrap the project immediately. Maybe try 1 or 2 additional angles. You don't have to share them even in the group. You can just do it for yourself. Maybe you can also try a few close-ups, like landscape close-ups, stuff like this, when you concentrate on a lantern or a bench or something like this. You can even go deeper and concentrate just on a plant. When everything around is nicely done, then close-ups like this one are really easy to make. Or you can, of course, try to take it a step further so that you concentrate on one thing, but in the background you still have something which is blurred, but still recognizable. So yeah, play around with it a bit more because you have already built a very, very solid structure. And to you folks, how do you feel about seeing this improvement done by Giorgi? Does it inspire or motivate you? Also, how do you see the group now since the show started? Personally, I see that there are more projects that have been posted to the group. There is more interactivity, more talks, discussions, more feedback given, and I think this is awesome. Ulfat says, it's amazing. I find it amazing too. It's really makes me happy to be a part of this, and knowing that I also, you know, kind of help this, and I'm also a part of this makes me really happy, and I really enjoy it. In the meantime, I can move on to let me just, before I move on to Cihan's work, let me just read the comment by Mohanad. He says, "Hey Theodor, Rodolf, thank you so much for taking the time to analyze my project with so much detail. It truly makes me happy to know that this is an okay first project since I just started 3ds Max a few weeks ago. And thank you for the constructive criticism. It will help me improve in my upcoming projects and really help me up my game when it comes to artifice in 3ds Max. I really want to be amongst the good artists out there and really become great. Thank you again." This is what the show is for, and I'm really happy that the feedback is useful to you, Mohanad. Roy says, "Honestly, great job and improvement. Some close-ups would be great." I think so too. Do this, Giorgi. And you know, the good thing with Giorgi is he is really so passionate about becoming a better artist that you know that when you tell him to do something like this, he will actually listen and do it probably, which I think is awesome. It really is fun to provide feedback to somebody like this. And Giorgi said a personal big thank you, Theo. You're very welcome. So let's continue with Cihan, a scene simply called Nature. I don't know what is all so much to say about it. Maybe a bit the you know, the software combination that you use, or maybe some background info why you decided to do this. But it's just an awesome nature scene with a laid-back mood to it. It's easy to imagine just having a hike there, and then you see the tree and the bench below it, and you just go sit there and take a look at the distance and enjoy the view. Nice materials too, good scattering. I really like the grass here because it looks like wild grass and not some grass that people actually have in their courtyard or on their golf field or something. It is really authentic in my opinion. The framing I like too. Personally, Cihan, I would, if we have this as an original framing, I would extend it a bit so that the tree isn't cut off on the top and to the right side, and it's visible as a whole. I think the composition becomes stronger this way. Also, Cihan actually showed that this scene is more or less a part of a YouTube tutorial that you can check in the comments. And if you take a look at it, you see how he actually makes the scattering here. I think in the end it's a different scene he works on, or maybe it's the same. I didn't watch it the whole. It's in Turkish. There are Turkish subtitles, which I don't understand. Maybe somebody said it's possible to make English subtitles, but I don't know how. But yeah, you can still see what he's doing there, and it's nice to see. And honestly, the tree that you have used in your scene, it's made with Vantage, is I think better, because the tree that you currently have in the scene is maybe too uniform, too much like a park tree that's being cut in a certain form, while this one that you initially used looks more like a wild tree to me, and I personally enjoy it a bit more. Also, I started thinking, because I know you're a very skilled artist, you have the skill set for that. I started thinking that you can maybe even take it a step further with, instead of the usual tree, with a tree that looks more like this one. You know, the trees that are on a hill and they're on their own, they sometimes tend to become to change their form due to the weather effects, due to strong winds and so on. So if we could imagine, it will be ugly now, but a tree which has a form like this, something like this, I think that it would also be awesome and add some dynamic to your scene. Also, again, you have the skill set for this, but if I look at something like this scene, like this image that I'm currently showing, with all the grasses, and in your case you also have weeds and the tree being just blown by the wind, I think this would be awesome. It mustn't be over the top like it is here. It could be, of course, it doesn't have to be a hurricane. It could be just a not so strong wind, but still all the grasses and weeds and the tree just leaning a bit to the left. I think this could add a layer of dynamic and storytelling to the scene, which can make it even more awesome than it is. Also, maybe the foreground is a bit empty and boring. Maybe a few small stones here and there would, make it a bit more varied and more interesting. But in conclusion, I would say nice, simple, yet very pleasant scene, and always a welcome change from Archviz. Then you have a second project. You know the rule. It's one project per artist per week. Also, we know this one. It seems you worked a bit more on it. You added the puddles here and also maybe more plants here. It looks nice. It did also before that. But yeah, we have to skip that and move on to Amir's work. Amir is work number 9 out of 14. So I think we're pretty much good in the time. So Amir, I know I've known for a long time now from the 5-step render workflow already for a few years back. So happy to see you in this group, Amir. He says, my first post here, private bathroom, feel free to give a note for improving it. So great to know that you're open for feedback and you want to, you're willing to improve. Again, here there has been feedback and quite a long one from a man talking about the camera positioning, the modeling, materials, and also about lighting. So all the major topics have been covered by Aman here. Really love that. Thank you, Aman. I really appreciate every one of you who provides feedback. So other than that, yeah, gladly tell us, Amir, sorry if it was a commercial or a personal work. Also, the software that you use would be interesting to know. Other than that, the images as a presentation look very consistent to each other, but given that they don't have much contrast, they look a bit dull. So this whole thing here could actually be one image. So they're very difficult to distinct from each other. Let's take a look at them. So this is one really small bathroom, really confined space, which is difficult to visualize, admittedly. I think that the bright color scheme here is a good decision because a confined and small space like this would just be unbearable if dark materials or colors would be used. Design-wise, there is not so much to say. The design works. Maybe this towel rack here is not such a good idea. First of all, you cannot open the window with it being there. Second of all, if you have towels there, it's near the shower, so the water will splash and make the towels always wet. And last but not least, to me, it looks a bit like an overhead compartment in a train or something where you just put your luggage. It doesn't really fit visually into this bathroom. This is just my opinion. Modeling wise, as Aman said, it's okay, but it can be improved. First of all, when we take a look at the mirror, for example, you see the edges on it, which is not a good look. Maybe you can... The simple way to do something like this is to use a rounded edge rectangle spline with adaptive interpolation to it and then just extrude it, and then you have the mirror that you want without edges like this. Also, as a man pointed out, generally the edges in your scene, both on this shower glazing or the door, need more detail, chamfering and so on. The assets, most of the assets are actually okay. Some of them not so much, like this window blind here. It's more of a poor asset, to be honest. So maybe you can exchange it. Material wise, again, it's a good material concept. It works for a space like this. I wouldn't say that the materials are very authentic, but they look good. They also mix good together. The wood, I don't like this much because it doesn't really look like wood. You have to really zoom in order to figure it out. Also, there seems to be something strange happening with the flush button here. If we zoom in on it, it behaves quite strangely. Maybe check either the material or the geometry. Lighting wise, I would say the lighting is okay. It manages to actually light up this space properly. You have to just turn the spots on the ceiling actually on, because we see their light, but we don't see them actually be turned on. And also, as a man pointed out, the outside looks really bright, really sunny, but the natural light coming from the outside seems to have absolutely no impact on the interior area, which is a pity, I would say. And framing, to me, the framing is the main issue here. And the reason is that the landscape format isn't the right one for confined, narrow spaces like this. It is the portrait format. And if I had to visualize this bathroom, the first thing I would do is to go for a portrait format in order to just make it work, right? So I think you tried your best to show as much information as possible. You used here camera clipping, which makes sense to me, so that you can at least show this whole space and as one entire continuous space. But yeah, first of all, there is you should be more careful where your cutting plane is placed, and also I would shift the whole camera downwards a bit, so that so if this is the original image, I would make it look more like this. So this makes the space look bigger, and it also cuts the areas where the cutting of the cutting plane takes place, and it's not a good look, obviously, and generally it looks better. But still, this landscape format isn't the right one for a space like this. And your background, maybe as a last point, looks a bit stretched, so maybe you should fix it. And in conclusion, I would say this is truly a difficult project to work on. But you did a decent job with it. If you want to take it to the next level or make it better, detail the modeling, tweak some of the materials until they really look realistic and distinct to their original look. Experiment more with camera angles and switch to portrait mode. Use references for that. Just take a look at this. I just searched for small bathroom ideas on Google, and as you see, almost every image has a portrait format to it. But as you can also see, it is very much possible to have good framing and composition even in a narrow space like this. Like if we take a look at this example, we have here the framing and the cropping is done like this, so that actually the toilet paper holder, the toilet bowl, the whole bathtub and the shower head are visible without being cut out, and they are nicely recognizable. So it is possible. You just have to experiment with it a lot. And yeah, you can then extract better final results for your portfolio out of this project. Let's continue with Leslie. He says, Nelson Flats, some commercial renderings I worked on last week. I would love to read your thoughts. Thank you. It's done in SketchUp, V-Ray and Photoshop. We again have feedback here, this time by Flatson. Awesome. He begins with, I felt identified here. Flats, haha. You will make a great dad, dear Flatson, because your dad jokes are really on point. But apart from that, it is really great that you provided your feedback and your thoughts to Leslie so he can grow or get some opinion on his work. So presentation-wise, good presentation, straight to the point. We know everything that we need to know about the project, and the images look nice too. In a situation like this, you need to be aware that the automatic cropping done by Facebook usually takes the upper part of the image. So if it is not really important to you, maybe just upload one image because it will be shown as a whole, and the second one you can maybe the alternative version, the evening version, you can upload as a command or something. So let's take a look at this image. I think it works. Everything seems to make sense design wise. It's great that you have put stuff on the balcony, because it may be a small detail to some, but it actually has a greater meaning. It shows that this building is actually lived in, that somebody actually uses it. So it doesn't take a ton of time to put like 2 chairs and a table there, but it really changes the way this whole thing is perceived. Same with this bicycle here or the car. They just show that this building is not just just empty, but it's actually being used, which makes it more relatable to clients and so on. Modeling wise, it seems good to me. Everything seems clean, fine. The edges look good. It's nice and detailed. The only thing I saw is that the curtains here seem to be levitating, so maybe just push them up a bit and hide them behind this wall here. Material wise, again, good job. First of all, nice and clean color scheme. So we just have one or two highlights here. The color palette is good, the materials look good, the patina on them looks good, and it's not repetitive. When it comes to the surrounding, it's the same. It's maybe the street texture that has some repetition to it, but you manage to hide it behind this or under this shadow here, so it's not a big deal. You did a good job with it. And the only thing that I don't like this much is this manhole cover, because it is very saturated, very dark, and it gets too much attention that absolutely isn't needed for a manhole cover. Lighting wise, I think that the framing absolutely works, and the lighting too. On the day version, it is very realistic in general. On the night version, it's more moody, it's more atmospheric rather than realistic, but it adds actually some further information to the whole scene, because we can now see how the lighting design works in the evening. Also, it's great that you also lit up the interiors, and you have even some stuff showing that again makes the whole scene more lived in and more believable. The motion blur car, this is something that Flatson pointed out, and this is just a small piece of advice for you. So if you use a motion blurred car, this is actually the scene or the lighting that you should use it in, not the day one. Because if you have direct sun, you won't have any motion blur. The logic behind it is that in the evening you have generally less light out there, so when you make a photo, the aperture closes more slowly in order to capture more light, so that the image isn't underexposed and too dark. And while it's captured slowly, if an object is in motion, it actually becomes motion blur. This is the logic behind it. So if you have a car like this, it's a matter of taste. If you like it, if you want it in your scene, but if you have it, it should be the evening scene where you put it and not the day one. And with this being said, really good commercial work, Leslie. Congrats, and looking forward to your next one. Let's take a look at the comments for a second before I continue. Abderrahman said something. Hello, I have just gotten into the live. I definitely agree with everything you said. We did actually have a couple of shades on between every two benches, which we decided to remove. We also have some things on the table. We also had some things on the table. I definitely... sorry, where did it go? I definitely should give more love to the tiles on the roof, like you said, as well as maybe add some ambient occlusion in between the floor and the concrete holding the vegetation. No dirt, clients hate dirt and leaks in their renders. I understand it. In Germany, it's the same. They never want leaks, especially leaks, because let's be honest, on a new architecture, if you present leaks, it means that it's not properly built. And I actually very much understand why they don't like it. But yeah, some ambient occlusion is always okay, I think. Leslie says, got it, thanks. And Abderrahman says, great job, Leslie, looks rad. Agree with this. Roy seems to like both versions of it. Sure, thanks, Theo, says Leslie. You're very welcome. Let's move on to Subhan, project number 11 for today. So he says, hello friends, my new work, I hope you like it, thanks. Software is 3ds Max and Corona, and is about him being an artist based in Pakistan and being open to international clients. Dear Subhan, I already think I told you that. Please be less self-promotional with your about, and let your about be about the project and not about yourself. And gladly also add if it is a commercial or a personal project. As for the images, presentation-wise, I think this is actually quite interesting to look at. So why not? Let's take a closer look at them. The images seem to be quite small, so gladly render 2K resolution or 2.5K. I think it would be better. for us to view your images and for your clients as well. Design-wise, I'm not sure what type of building this is. Judging by the residential buildings in the background and the courtyard, I would say this looks like living, like a house, a personal house, like single unit family house. Judging by the architecture, it looks more like a museum or a gallery to me. But whatever it is, I think it looks exciting, and it also sticks out nicely. I like that. Still, your curtains are upside down, man. I mean, there are solutions where the curtains are stretched between a railing on the floor and the ceiling, but this doesn't seem to be the case. And because if this is the case, then the top area should look like the bottom one as well. But in your case, it's just the curtains being upside down, which is obviously doesn't make a lot of sense. When it comes to the modeling, there is not much of it, but it actually looks okay. I like that you didn't just make a straight, flat garden, but actually gave it some landscape structure. The assets that you have used also mostly look fine. Maybe apart from this green plant here, it looks kind of artificial. Material-wise, I like the materials on the ground cover, in the front, or on the pathway here. Although the pathway, it could also be vomit. It's maybe use something which is more visible what exactly it is, right? But it looks realistic though. Also, the stone textures here are pretty cool. Then we have the white texture on the ceiling or on the roof here, which we already talked a lot about this on your previous projects. It looks just like some geometry that has a basic white color, 3ds Max color added to it. Same with these black columns here. And this is an absolute no-go because this obviously doesn't look realistic at all. It lacks all the, normal behavior of material, reflections and some patina to it, some structure. So please start adding this. And, just for your information, it's not a threat or something, but, if I see that I repeat one and the same thing to the same artist over and over again, it doesn't change. At some point, I'll just stop because it starts feeling like a waste of time, Also, please tune up your greens a bit because there are many shades of green here. The one on the palm trees, the one on this plant, the one on the grass, and then on this other plant here. Try to match the greens better to each other, and then you can make some of the plants a bit darker, a bit brighter, and then you have a distinct enough, good enough distinction in your greens. Regarding the scattering, I like that the grass isn't perfect like some carpet or like a golf course. This is great, but at the same time, maybe it's a bit overdone. There are many areas that look where no grass grows, which almost makes the garden look abandoned. And so maybe tune it down a bit. An empty area or imperfections here and there are okay, but not everywhere. Then it becomes too much. And also some grass clumps seems to be hovering, so maybe just use smaller clumps to scatter. Framings, I think that the framing is actually pretty nice, especially for a building like this, because it kind of reminds me of the National Gallery in Berlin by Mies van der Rohe. It also has this overhanging roof, and it is something that people love to photograph as a central perspective, like you did here. And I think it looks pretty nice. On the second shot, it's the same, so we can just go to the last one. And on the last one, you seem to have used the rule of thirds, which is nice. But first of all, you have this reflection here where it shows that you have just some generic HDRI or sun and sky environment to it. So if you want to have the rule of thirds, maybe place something that reflects here in the glass so that something also happens on the left side as well. Also, it is kind of too close. You maybe need to make the image longer to the bottom and to the top. And also this light here being so close doesn't really look authentic or realistic at all. As for the lighting, I actually like, on this shot, I also don't like the lighting as much. It's kind of muddy. It's not so great. But I like how you use distance fog and also depth of field on it. Let this be said. On the main shot, however, I like the lighting. I think it's pretty good. I also like that you have some stuff to reflect in this massive glazing. It is good thinking on your side. And actually, I very much enjoy the night shot because it is very down to earth. It doesn't try to be something very awesome with all the garden being artificially lit up or something. It's just these built-in lights in the overhanging roof, and that's it. And I think this is pretty cool. It would have been even cooler if you have also put some lights on the interior so that it also lights up. But yeah, all in all, I think that this project is a step ahead compared to your previous works. Still work more on finer details, better materials, in order to achieve a more realistic final result, and always work with references. You will learn a ton by it. As the next, we have Flatson. These two images he already added to the project, so we talked about them. A second project by Mohannad. We have our rules, so I gotta skip this one by Mohannad. I hope that the feedback that you have gotten to your previous project, in combination to the feedback that is given to every work here, which is not yours but just in general, will help you evaluate your work on your own. And also in this case, Abdi from AS Art 3D and Motion Graphics also gave you a really long review, which is awesome. So I think you have enough input to evaluate this scene on your own. And now let's move to another project that has been reworked after the feedback from the show by Giorgi this time. She says, "Hello everyone, after the review from our Keeping It Realistic live stream 2 weeks ago, I amended the composition and fixed my models according to the suggestions from Theodore and re-rendered my personal project house in Scotland." You probably remember this one. This time I raised the resolution from 2.5K to 4K. I used more dramatic depth of field in my last two detail shots, and I also increased the render time dramatically. Yeah, this happens. So the kitchen sink shot took 18 hours to render, and the whiskey on the table took 9 hours. Everything is done in SketchUp and V-Ray, and the assets are from the Cosmos and the 3D Warehouse libraries. So first of all, Giorgi, it's great that you decided to go back and rework this project following the advice from the show. It really shows great attitude on your side. Presentation wise, so much nice information, and yeah, depth of field unfortunately always increases the render times massively. Image presentation wise, to me it looks better. Let's jump in and take a look at the images one by one. So again, we have the living room shot, but this time it actually concentrates on the living room. We have the dining room shot. We have a shot in the kitchen, a shot from the kitchen looking into the dining room area, the 18-hour shot, and the whiskey shot. So I would say it still needs some work and improvement, but it is way better than last time. So in order to make it easier, I won't go to the usual points like modeling materials and so on, but I will go through the images one by one because I think it makes more sense in this case. So starting with the living room as a first one, I would say the framing is way better than last time because we see more and we can actually concentrate more on this living room area. And yeah, we see some stuff in the background, but I think that this is okay. The lighting has also improved. However, I think that it can be better because I still feel that we need more lighting somewhere here so that our focus is more there. Remember that the stage comparison with the actors and the spotlight. I think that we should try to have our spotlight somewhere here because currently, if we analyze it, it is still more somewhere, here, which I think is slightly off. So maybe try to concentrate your light. Maybe you can have some windows to the right and you can have direct sunlight falling into this area here. It would be awesome, I think. Also, add more life to the scene. Currently, it's just this table, which is a terrible asset, by the way. Sorry to tell you this so directly, but you can see the edges from here, and the material is very rough, and this is not a good asset. Please use a different one, because this one just doesn't cut it. But yeah, when you have a new table, maybe a more lightweight one, maybe one that has also a glass surface, so that it reflects a bit the situation here, but doesn't add too much volume to the whole situation here. So yeah, it needs stuff on it, like let's say a vase with plants, with flowers in it, maybe a magazine that is open, someone's glasses next to it, or a mobile phone, the TV remote. Also, this low board here also needs stuff on it and in it. By the way, if you're an interior designer, if you have the time for it, you can of course do it on your own. If not, there are ready-made TV walls with all the decorations and stuff that are not so expensive to buy, to be honest. Also, generally, I think that this thing is a bit too long. If I were you, I would let it end somewhere here probably, and maybe on this side somewhere here, so you know, that it doesn't fill up the whole scene. Also, that you have a bit more space here to walk through, and generally, when it comes to the lighting, again, these spots above, you know, the couch are also a bit strange, because you actually don't want a light being above you, because then you have a dark head. You want this area that you look upon to be nicely lit. So if you imagine there is some let's say you sit here, I would just draw something awfully here. So yeah, this is me sitting here in your Scotland house, having a drink. Yeah, and when I sit here, I want to see the people on the other side. So if you have, let's say, a ring light here, it could actually illuminate like this. So it illuminates mostly this table down here, and also the people's faces who sit around the table. But I don't need, I'm not a, you know, a statue in a museum, so that I need a light, you know, a spot right above my head, right? So, and also the carpet, it's almost ridiculously small. I would say make it larger, so that it fills the area here, that it also goes underneath the couches. It will make the whole area way more cozy too. And also work on more pronounced and more clear color scheme. We already had this topic in the show on Mahanat's work. Try to establish a very, very clear color scheme and run with it, because currently there are too many colors. Like you see, there are just two purples visible here, and then the orange on the outside, and then the reddish floor. It's just too much, right? I see Roy says TV is tiny and a bit low, and also the cushions are huge. Yeah, these are quite large cushions. And yeah, again, I think you should define one style, also one color scheme, and then try to go with it. Gladly work with references for that. Then we have the second shot, which is better. It is quite pleasant and authentic. The new lamp that you have placed here is way better than the previous one. It actually looks functional. It also, I think, fits the architecture better. Still, you have to match the colors of the greens on the outside, because we literally have 5 colors here. We have the one on the grass, the one on the shrubs, the one on the hedge, which, by the way, is looks almost artificial. It's like you know, venomously, poisonously green. Then we have the one on the trees here, and then a different one on the other tree. So 5 colors. That's just too much. Also, you have to desaturate this fence. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, because it just takes too much attention. The table runner, again, the color type of this part of this color scheme topic, to me it fits the wood, but it is kind of foreign to the whole scene. So maybe get something more natural looking, something in beige or something, I don't know. I like these open doors here and the reflection in them. It looks quite authentic. I'm not sure about the framing here, if it has to be a landscape mode. I personally would have gone for a portrait mode, so that we can see the nice kite light that you have above the dining area, so that we don't cut off the chairs or the legs of the table, and we will then just cut off this area here. But if you want to go with this landscape format, then maybe make sure to place something here so that this wall isn't as empty as it is right now. Then we move to the kitchen, and with every next shot it gets better, actually. We have a nice clear central perspective. I like it. I think it's good. There is no camera rotation and stuff like this as we had it last time, so it's definitely an improvement. So this is the shot. What I don't like here is how saturated the exterior is, and I don't like this reddish color on the floor. It's in this case, I don't think it's only a matter of taste. It also has to fit, you know, you have already two other wood colors here, and then you have a third one. I think this is too much. So if I were you, I would try to give it a more natural color so that it fits the other woods in this scene. But other than that, it's nice. Then comes one shot that I actually very much enjoy, because what we have here is, again, another pretty nice central perspective, no rotation. What I see here compositionally is the color composition, because what we have in the foreground, which has very, very nice depth of field, by the way, is that the foreground is more monochrome. It's like just more or less black and white with a few exceptions here and there. I don't know, don't make your water bluish, it's strange, just make it transparent, and maybe remove the plant here. But other than that, the foreground is just more or less black and white, monochrome. And then the area that we actually focus on, this is this area here, the dining area. It has way more color to it. It has the warm lights, it has the yellow plants, this very colorful painting. And I think this is very, very good color composition in this case. Then we come to this shot, which is, I'm so sorry that you rendered it for 18 hours and I have to tell you to render it once again, because this shot is absolutely amazing. And I don't say it in a way like, yeah, for your set of skills, it's good enough. It's really an amazing shot. I would gladly have it in my portfolio. I think it has an amazing atmosphere and mood to it. The background very much fits, the light fits, everything is awesome. It's just the focus that is wrong. You should have, the way that you have focus now is on the edge of this sink, so it's more like you're trying to sell me the sink or the marble on it. Where you should have focused on instead is the roses and the faucet, maybe on both if not, then the roses or the faucet. Try it out in small first. I think that this will get for longer render times. Also for close-ups, you don't have to go in 4K. You can just stay at the 2.5K. It will be sufficient enough so that you avoid the longer render times. But other than that, this is one really wonderful shot, and I love it, and I want to see it with the correct focus length, and then it will be awesome. And then we go to the last one, and I'll make it quick. It's better than the last time, but it still doesn't work. It's still underwhelming and underexposed. So let me show you something as a comparison. It was, I think, one of the first projects I did with Max and Corona was this one, and I made it as Christmas card for my clients. And you see how this whiskey bottle and glass, how easily visible it is, how you see the focus is on it, so everything in the background is blurry, but it's also properly lit and you can very much see it as properly, Also, here are other examples if you want to go more into this fireplace with whiskey glass and whiskey bottle. Then maybe look for references, something like this. I just googled whiskey fireplace ad in order to make it work, because in the moment it still is not there. But in conclusion, I would say it is awesome that you went back and reworked this project. It's just like that as it is sometimes with clients as well. It needs more than one revision round to become the best version of itself. So just keep it up. You're obviously visibly improving, and that's not only my opinion. If we check the comments here, Leslie and Alessio also share the same opinion, that this project, these reworked images are absolutely a step ahead. So Then we have the third project by Christos that we have to skip, but it's in Greece, and a quick look at it shows that it's quite a great project. Looks really good to me. Also very much fits the location. Then we have a small announcement by Arthur from the Common Point. It's about, there is a link to this quite long, very in-depth article on 3D sketching. It has lots and lots of very inspiring examples to it that really will be motivating you. I can imagine it certainly was the case with me. How to do this 3D sketching. It takes its time to read because it's very long, very in-depth, but I think it's truly worth it, and I highly, highly recommend it. As a next, we have the second to last work. It's by Ulfat. She says, "Hello everyone, it's my first time to post here. I present to you our new project, which is a cafe design in Saudi Arabia, located on the shores of the Red Sea, surrounded by palm trees. The main theme of the design is an attempt to abstract the shape of the palm leaf and transform it into a simple pattern. As for the rendering, the very open spaces with large windows in this particular style were a bit challenging. I'd love to hear your opinions and criticisms. Thank you very much. Note, work is done for Omran Design Studio." So I think it's not design done by Ulfat herself, but she only visualized in this case. I'm very happy for you, Ulfat, for sharing your project in this group. Very, very happy to have you around. For those of you who don't know Ulfat, she is a very, very skilled and seasoned artist from Palestine, I think. I really love her works. So let's take a closer look at this one. I think presentation-wise, it's a very great presentation with a lot of project info, and I really loved how a very skilled and seasoned artist like yourself has no issue with saying that you found some parts of this project to be challenging, because especially new artists, one who are novice or rookies, or just starting or learning in the moment, I think that a lot of them think that oh, this is your design too? Okay, sorry for that. I'm sorry. But this makes it even better because I would be talking about the design too. But yeah, to continue this, I think it's very, that a lot of people imagine that skilled and seasoned artists just, sit down and make everything and it immediately works out and it's just immediately awesome. They get their attention and their praise and everything is just, perfect. But this is not the case. Even seasoned artists have their struggles and there are projects that are difficult to them, that they have their difficulties with, and they have to do something to overcome, and they are unsure about maybe. So it is awesome that you mentioned this in your description, Ulfat. As for the images, they look very good, very consistent, and I'll gladly dive into them. As for the design, because you just mentioned it is yours, I think it's awesome Spacer's design, because this is like a huge place. I don't know how high it is, but I don't know, 7 or 8 meters or something. It's huge, but one doesn't get this feeling of being in an airplane hangar or something. It still feels kind of cozy, which is a difficult thing to pull off, if you ask me. Also, the inviting and soothing colors are great for a cafe, so that people just feel welcomed and invited and comfortable there. I love these hanging panels on the ceiling, because again, where is the shot where we can see them properly? I think this one, because without them, I think that it would have looked a bit too large for people not to feel tiny in this situation. But with them, it's like the space becomes smaller. At the same time, however, if you had something huge hanging up there, if I was there sitting on one of those chairs, the whole time I would be thinking, God, please don't let this thing fall onto my head and crush me. But here this looks more or less like fabric, so even if it was to fall down, it would just be fabric, so I don't have the fear of the ceiling just falling onto me and making me two-dimensional, which I think is great. Also, I love the details, the small details, things like, this takeaway stuff having the logo of the cafe, and on the last shot you also have it on this cup here. It may look like an insignificant detail, but it actually adds a lot of personality, and it makes that project be more tailored towards your customers and not look less generic, which I think is great. The modeling, obviously, I think we all see it looks good. It's clean modeling, great assets. When it comes to the materials, I already mentioned it. I very much dig this nice earth toned color scheme. The materials look good. In the comments, I think it was Amit who said that he doesn't quite like the material on those chairs as opposed to the couch material, and I gotta agree with him a bit on this, but it's not a big deal. Maybe it just needs a bit more displacement or more bump so that it's a bit more pronounced, or your displacement just needs a bit more quality. Other than that, the lighting and framing, again, this is a difficult place to work with, as opposed to Amir's bathroom from before that. You have a lot of space here, but it is difficult to make this space look like somebody will get lost there, and it's just way too big for the scale of a normal human being. So this is not really easy to work with, but I think both the framing and the lighting are great and very much fit this location. Not only the location as a cafe, but also the Saudi Arabian city that it is placed in. The close-up is great, and as I see Roy pointing out, it looks really delicious. The croissant as well, it's really a great scene, makes you really want to go there and have something to drink and eat. And as a conclusion, I would say, I don't think it's really a surprise here, but great project, really good one. And as for the challenging part of it, I think, if it's about, the outdoors, if I think at the moment we see the palm trees that, gave this very nice interpretation that you wanted to make here. You see the palm trees, they are there, so they have a subtle storytelling to them, but they are very secondary because at the moment the viewer mostly concentrates on the inside of this cafe, and I think this is the right thing to do when visualizing a situation like this. If, however, these plant trees on the outside were so important because, again, it's their leaves that have given the idea for this, logo or this symbolism here, they could be a bit more pronounced, maybe a bit more saturated and so on, but I don't think it would look better this way. So I think it's just great the way it is. Let's continue with just a small announcement from Ricardo Eloy from CG Architect. It's the annual CG Architect salary survey. It's an essential topic. Let's be honest about it. I very constantly have people reach out to me and ask me if I think that what they charge is reasonable or not. So if you're interested in this topic, as I am, gladly take part in it. It takes only 6 minutes to fill out, and in the end of it, we'll have, as Ricardo puts it here, better understanding on the state of the RVs industry and the salaries in it. And then we have Roy, who has been very active in the comments today. Another very skilled, very seasoned artist, Roy Ghaya, this time from Lebanon, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he says, a lens journey, autumn's unexpected capture, a lens journey, full project on Behance. Then there are some links, and the presentation is on point. I think it's self-explanatory that this is not a commercial project, but a free time one. And the software combination is clear. It's 3ds Max, Corona, and Photoshop. But I was about to scold you, Roy, for being too self-promotional. Then I took a bit of a closer look at the links. So if we analyze them a bit, we have a Behance link, which I think is always okay to share alongside your project, because on Facebook we are limited to a certain image size, and on Behance, and also there is a Facebook compression, and on Behance we can see the images in their full beauty with all the detail and everything. So I wouldn't consider Behance a self-promotion. Then he has his Instagram, which is the self-promotional part, and the link, your Instagram or your website, I think is absolutely okay. Then he has his YouTube, and I was about to say, hey, don't be too self-promotional, but let's be honest here. I don't know if you know that, but Roy actually has this YouTube channel with lots and lots of tutorials about interior, exterior, modeling, materials. It's about 3ds Max and Corona. So there is a lot of useful stuff for the group under this YouTube link. So maybe visit it, take a look at it, and see if you can learn something there, especially if you enjoy Roy's project that we'll just dive in a second. As for the images that we see here presentation wise, I think we're in for a visual treat. I really like these bold colors, but that the project also evolves and becomes like an evening darker mood. Also, it has good timing to it, because in the northern hemisphere now the autumn begins. So I would say really nice timing. Let's take a look at the images. We have the house on the lake with a boat. Awesome boat colors. We have this shot on the boat, which a bit reminded me of this one. I just love such isometric autumn shots, and I really love this one by Roy. Then we have a water surface shot, very interesting angle onto the house. In the evening we have the deck, and then a very late evening, very interesting mood. So the design, I think, works and is really awesome. It makes you really want to be there and just enjoy this beautiful scenery. On the let's say negative side, I gotta criticize something. Even with very, very seasoned and good artists, I think sure, it's mostly nitpicking, the criticism there, but I think that everyone can involve, including myself, including you, Roy, Ulfat, and every great artist out there. So first of all, I think it would be better if the interiors weren't that empty. And on this shot, it looks kind of empty on the inside, which is a bit of a pity. So maybe just add a few things on the inside so that it looks more like a cabin, like it's lived in, and I think it would immediately be better. Also, the boat should be a bit deeper in the water. Again, it is nitpicking, I'm very much aware of it, but I actually did some research on this, and as you see, boats tend to be lower in the water than you represented it. And then the dock. I would say, again, I did some research because I know that you're also a perfectionist, so you see dock columns like these made out of wood tend to be very dark near the water surface and tend to become brighter, and also often desaturized in the upper areas, because here is, on the other hand, where all the weathering effects take place. But again, this is just small stuff, obvious nitpicks. Modeling is, other than that, just awesome, same as the materials. I love the scattering. I want to explicitly mention it because you didn't just have some leaves in the surrounding areas, you also have some leaves on the water surface, which makes it look very authentic, very realistic. You have clusters of leaves, which is how it usually looks like. You also have leaves on the roof, and even though it is a building and this is the roof and the leaves usually fall on the floor, there is always some wind and stuff that just blows them on the roof. So it is very normal to see some leaves here on an autumn scene, and I think it makes for a great authenticity and realism. Lighting and framing wise, I would say it is great. As I already told you, this is my favorite one. You also added some, in the post-production, you seem to have added some film grain and some maybe vintage nostalgia image effects, which they very much fit this type of images. Also, I love how the whole scene, the whole set of images starts with this very pumpkin spice latte, bubbly, happy mood, colors, everything is bold, everything is positive, and it slowly but gradually gets darker and darker and finishes in something that could be a part of a Blair Witch project or something. I really like this. It's great. On the last shot, it seems that you added stuff here with AI. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really fit so much. I think it could be, I know you added it for balance, but I think you could live without it, or maybe have some scattered leaves in the wind here. But overall, an awesome project, and I can tell that you had a great time making it, and it just shows. Yeah, and with this, we're actually done. We managed to do. Oh, it's PNGs, it's not AI. Okay, I'm sorry for that. These are quite large bets, but yeah, why not? I mean, this is cool. Again, we're going into this more Blair Witch direction. And yeah, you're welcome for the feedback. It was a pleasure to review this. With this, we actually managed to do 14 projects in 2 hours. Now we have one more project by Amir, which according to our rules, we will be skipping. Dear Amir, just so you know, and to everybody, it is not about Amir only, but just so you know, you don't have to upload lots of projects. Of course, upload as much as you will, but it doesn't make you a better artist or cooler if you upload very frequently. I would rather suggest trying to work on your projects as long as possible and make the best out of them, because it often happens that somebody posts something and then I say something, I give feedback, and people say, yeah, but I only had 1 day to finish this whole project. And I absolutely understand you. 1 day is absolutely not sufficient to finish a project and make it super realistic with all the detail and so on. It's not enough. But on the other hand, nobody forces you to immediately post it somewhere. So if you think that there is potential to this project, gladly set it aside, work on it when you have a bit of free time until it reaches a level when you say it's really great now, and maybe post it then. And because, we already had 5 shows, we already talk about the same topics, apart from this presentation, we talk about the modeling, the materials, the lighting, the framing, the composition, the scattering. So you know what points you have to think about. Work with references and then try to make your project be the best version of itself before you share it, because again, there is no bonus for sharing something more than a few times a week. We had somebody in this group, he would share a new project every 2 to 3 days. And honestly, I always had to criticize his works because they weren't especially good. They were quick, but they weren't good. They had a lot of mistakes. They weren't realistic. At the same time, I know artists who maybe share a work once or twice a year, but when they do, it is so great. Everything about the work, every aspect of it is so nicely done that actually they get a way more positive attention than the ones who just spit out a new project every 2 days, right? So maybe consider, take a look at this project, take a look at it. Is the framing good? Are the materials nice? Is the modeling detailed enough? Is everything all right? And then maybe share it with the group, to share it with us, because you consider it shareable. You consider it good enough to be shared with everybody else in a public forum like this. Because just sharing for the sake of it with million mistakes and imperfect doesn't really make so much sense. So yeah, in this case, you say design for a small garden and a terrace. Feel free to give a feedback. Thanks in advance. The client was a woman and she rejected both ideas. So first of all, what's the relevance for the client being a woman? Does it make it any different of it being a man? And second, if she rejected both, is it just a client being an asshole? there are clients like this, or maybe it's not like the best project. So maybe think about it more, and you can always then share it with the community and get your feedback. This is what this show is for. This is what we try to do as a community, to provide feedback. But yeah, don't feel obliged to share as much as possible, because again, there is no bonus for that. And to finish it off, because this is actually the last thing in this group, is this is a 4-minute video on how to make your greens not look washed out. So it's a simple thing. You can just take a look at it. And with this, we actually managed to really finish 14 projects and everything that's been posted in the group within 2 hours and 10 minutes. I thank you for being here and staying with me for so long. And again, for the future, we will have to discuss how we deal with this situation, because I think also because of the show, but also because of you as a group, as a community being more active, now more people are sharing their works. And the more works that are shared, the longer the show will get, which obviously we don't want to do. As Giorgi said at some point, it would be the best if the show would be, let's say, just 1.5 hours, but let's say 2 hours should really be the limit. Yeah, other than that, you won't watch it. It's exhausting to me as well. So we'll have to figure out a solution so that maybe we cap it at 10 projects at max per show, and then we have to find a way which projects we will be choosing, so that it's fair to everybody. We will discuss it internally. If you have any ideas, you can gladly also post them in the group or reach out to me personally, so that, yeah, the more ideas the better. Again, I thank you so much. It seems, Flatson just joined the group. Well, you can watch a recording, dear Flatson, but still, hello. Roy says he's now a board expert, and he agrees that even big artists can improve. I think, yeah, big artists wants to improve. Also, they challenge themselves to more and more difficult scenes and stuff to visualize, which again makes them do new stuff. And when you do new stuff, you always make some mistakes. But yeah, in your Ulfat's case here, there were almost none. Roy says, you actually reminded me of Blair, which, yeah, awesome, right? And Ulfat says, thank you so much. It was an amazing show and very useful, and enjoyed it a lot. I'm very glad to hear this. And with this being said, I hope to see you again next week, hopefully for a bit shorter show. Bye, be safe, have a good week, and we see each other next week. Bye, folks.